On this episode, we'll answer the question, how do pistachios grow? The pistachio, a member of the cashew family, is related to the spice sumac and mangoes. The pistachio or green almond is also known as the happy nut in China or the smiling nut in Iran. Believed to have originated from Central Asia, this is only a guess as we don't really know. Mentioned in the Bible, the pistachio is one of the oldest flowering nut trees. Only 2 nut trees were mentioned in the Bible, which tells us humans have been eating them for the last 9,000 years. Legend has it, pistachios grew among the hanging gardens of Babylon over 2,700 years ago. Another legend, don't worry, we'll get to real facts soon, is the Queen of Sheba declared the pistachio as a food only for royalty, to which she would take the entire country's harvest of pistachios for herself and her royal court. Emperor Vitellius introduced Rome to the pistachio in the 1st century. This is confirmed by mention of pistachios in a classical Roman cookbook of that time. During the 17th century, pistachio trees were called pitch trees in Ukraine, as people would consume the tree's pitch or sap as a breath freshener. Demand for this nut has skyrocketed since the 1970s. It was introduced to the United States in 1854 as a garden tree. Hardier varieties were collected in 1904, but commercial production didn't begin until 1929. The average pistachio tree produces 50,000 or 110 pounds or 50 kilograms of nuts every 2 years. Pistachios are biennial bearing, so their harvest is much heavier in alternate years. They can live up to 300 years and take 7 to 10 years to produce fruit, but full production of the tree doesn't happen until they're around 15 to 20 years old. The top consuming countries of pistachios are Turkey, United States, Iran, China, Germany, Spain, Italy, South Korea, France, and Syria. There are 11 species of pistachio nut trees. Only Pistachia vera is produced commercially. Pistachios are known for their high price tag in the grocery store, so let's get into why that is. 3 main varieties of pistachios are produced: the Sicilian, Napolitana in Italy, Syrah in Australia, and Kerman in the United States. Pistachios are harvested in late summer, August to mid-September in California, which produces 98% of American pistachios. The Kerman female plant is pollinated by the male Peters variety at a ratio of 1 male tree for every 8 to 12 female trees. Iran is the biggest producer of pistachios worldwide, but Turkey, Afghanistan, Italy, and Syria all grow them as well, as they have optimal climates to cultivate them. Pistachios grow best in areas with cold winters and hot summers. The reason for this is they have a dormant cycle that needs to be activated. A cool period just above freezing will do the trick. After the growing cycle is initiated, pistachios prefer over 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 38 degrees Celsius to thrive. They produce best in well-draining soil, are drought-tolerant, and thrive in areas that aren't humid. The flowers are pollinated by wind. Usually, a good April storm will get the job done. Classified as fruit trees, pistachios need to be pruned like one for optimal nut production. A couple of main branches are chosen as the framework of the tree, with everything else pruned back. This will promote side branching. Naturally, they'll want to sprawl, but in a commercial setting, these trees are pruned to have upright horizontal branches, which makes for easier harvests. Commercially, pistachios are grafted onto rootstock trees, or a base that gives the pistachio additional protection against disease. Harvesting pistachios isn't an easy task, which stops many growers from growing them. All the nuts need to be harvested and processed within a few weeks, as they all ripen relatively at once. Depending on the size of the operation, the nuts may be collected by hand or partial machine assistance, or completely done by machines. Some of the fresh nuts will go to local markets for sale. The rest will be processed so they can be shipped worldwide. Pistachios can be eaten fresh, but their shelf life, if not dried, isn't very good. If they aren't processed properly, the chemical aflatoxin produced can cause a cancerous mold that can be fatal, so stay away from those shady black market pistachios. Machine harvesting is done by large shaker machines. The trees need to be pruned at a height that allows these machines to fit underneath. One of these machines can shake down 60 trees an hour or 1 a minute, and will load up with 1,300 pounds or 600 kilograms of nuts before having to drop them off for processing. Once the nuts are harvested, they're stored in a cool room just above freezing and pulled out at a speed that feeds the processing machines adequately. The first step of processing is the dehulling, which rips the pistachio fruit off the nut. That's right, there is a fruit wrapped around the pistachio, making it a drupe or stone fruit. This technically makes the pistachio a seed and not a nut. The fruit is only edible to birds where we can eat the nut. Pistachios with a nut inside will sink to the bottom of the water, which are removed and either dried in the sun or added to a machine like this one that blows hot air vertically as it continually moves them through an auger. A good dry pistachio is key to make sure there's no fungal growth. Once the nuts are dried, they travel through this machine with blades and teeth that make sure each nutshell is split. This process does end up with some nuts that still have yet to be split. These nuts will go into this machine with gear-like teeth. Each tooth will pick up one nut, and at the top a spring-loaded bolt will individually crack each shell. For pistachios that are shipped with no shell, they're sorted through a machine that has 4 buckets. Whole pistachios, large shell fragments, pistachios with smaller shell fragments, and shell dust. The shell dust is burned as a fuel source, but the smaller pieces with pistachios needs to go through the machine again with a strong vacuum turned on, which will suck these shell pieces away from the nuts. These machines are customized based on where and what types of pistachios they're working with. The Sicilian Napolitana pistachio only has a 20% split rate of the shell versus the Australian Syrora variety, which has an 85% split rate. The town of Bronte in Italy supports the production of pistachios as a community. They have an annual pistachio festival that brings in people all around to enjoy their bright green pistachios, along with pistachio desserts and ice cream. The Food Forest, where all this footage comes from, is an Australian organic pistachio producer with 1,000 trees. As the demand for pistachios increases, new growers of this nut, like the Food Forest, will be needed in different places around the world, like Australia. Pistachios sold in the United States up until 30 years ago were bright red. This was just a marketing tactic to sell more nuts. Nuts being shipped in were blotchy and unappealing to US customers, so they dyed them red to make them more appetizing. Offering more vitamins and nutrients as well as protein than most other nuts, the pistachio is high in calcium, folate, and riboflavin, making it a great addition to one's diet. Hopefully now you understand not only a lot more about the pistachio, but why they are so expensive. Let me know which food you want to see next on this series of how they grow, and until the next one, have a good one.